Today we're going to look at the Fellow Series 1 espresso machine. Now this is the very first espresso machine Fellow have made, and it retails at about £1,300 depending on where you buy it. Fellow have packed so much stuff into this espresso machine that it slightly confuses me based on the price, because the price point is substantially lower than what I would put with the classic Fellow tagline. Now you might have heard of Fellow. They're an already very well known and established company producing high-end luxury coffee equipment. It not only looks good, but it works well. So when they released their espresso machine, I was expecting it to be upwards of £2,000. So this price point at £1,300 slightly confuses me. I always thought Fellow were a company that did things for the pros, the people that wanted the best of the best. And now it also seems like they're wanting something for the beginners. And I wonder whether this machine is something for beginners and the pros, and maybe they're just trying to create a wider market for themselves by having a machine that covers all bases. And really this video is about working out whether this machine does cover all bases, or whether it's just a machine that is priced low because it's not quite there yet. And let's see if we can figure that out today. And if you're new here, my name's Billy and I love making videos about coffee. I just love talking about coffee. I love drinking about coffee. Everything coffee. So if you did want to subscribe, like this video, that would mean the world, and it would just serve as some motivation for me to carry on making these videos for you. So without further ado, let's look at the Fellow Series 1 espresso machine. Depending on where you get this machine from, it will set you back around £1,300 to £1,500. But aside from the price, let's talk about the weight of it. It's obviously quite a small machine and has a small footprint, but when you pick it up, you will notice a bit of weight. It comes in at about 9.8 kilos, which for reference is about the size of an adult female koala or a miniature schnauzer. So hopefully one of those weights will be more familiar for you. In terms of design, there's quite a bit more here than it just looks like a Fellow machine. The outside is this coated ABS material. So it's not metal, but it is a high quality plastic finish. And it has this lovely sweeping curve at the back, which makes it feel very aesthetically pleasing. At the bottom here, you've got a very generous drip tray covering a capacity of about 750 millilitres. And hidden just down here is a fill indicator. A full indicator. It's just something that pops up and tells you need to see it, but you don't see it at any other time, which I think is a nice feature. Here it has a steam wand on a ball joint, which has a good range of movement, and in practice is actually very easy to steam milk and get at a good angle. And when you place this steam wand down, it will auto purge after you've steamed milk, which I think is a really good feature. Now over here, it's got 3 piano keys, which will wake the machine up if you press them. It's got one for brew, one for steam, and one for hot water. And while I mention hot water, I do want to mention how clever they've been at hiding the hot water spout, because I mistook it for a Phillips head screwdriver slot at first. It's hidden right at the back under here and is in the perfect place for where your cup is. So all you need to do if you want an Americano or a long black, pop your cup there, press the hot water and run your espresso shot on top without having to move anything. And I think that's a really cool feature. Now, looking at the front of the machine here, you've got one LCD, I think LCD, I don't know. It's just a circular display. It shows you pictures. Probably LCD, I'm not very big on that sort of tech stuff. And then under here it's got that sort of classic Fellow circular knob that you use as a selector. And to fill up the water, all you need to do is press that and it will just pop up, and then you have a 2-litre water tank, which is a pretty good capacity. Now on the top here you've also got some secret things lying under here, and we will discuss those in a bit, but let's first have a look at these accessories. This is their Portafilter. It's all right. I don't love it, and that's because it has a funny weight to it. These wooden bits are so light, and it goes the same for the Tamper as well. When you pick up a Tamper, you expect it to have a good weight to it, And this fellow Tamper is ridiculously light. It feels kind of weird. Now, this is the back flush disc. All you need to do is place it inside and pop one of those cleaning tablets on top, and then plug it back into your portafilter, run a shot, and it will just disperse that cleaning fluid throughout the machine where it needs to go. The other thing you've got hiding up the top here is this, and it's used to clean out your steam wand, which I think is a nice touch to include that. Some companies just won't provide one, and it's nice that they do here. And I do find you need this because looking back at the steam wand, you'll notice this little protrusion here. This is a little temperature probe and will monitor your temperature of your milk as you're steaming in real time. It's used for some of the functions where it will stop when it hits a certain temperature if you're doing it in the automatic mode. And I find that that is a classic spot where milk grime will just accumulate. They're very tricky to keep clean normally, so having one of these does come in handy. So anyway, let's have a look at the user interface. Now, this machine has a brew ready time of about 2 minutes, which is exceptional for a boiler machine. But there is a caveat. This is a boosted boiler system, which Fellow have patented. It means that the water going from the cold tank is heated in 3 areas. It's heated from the cold water tank before it gets to the boiler via a thermocoil, which is just a big coil that heats water on its way to the boiler. Once it's in the boiler, it's then heated to the espresso temperature. And on its way to the group head, it has this sort of heater inside here that heats the portafilter, heats the group head, and means that water coming from the boiler doesn't lose any of its temperature. When it comes to the steaming, instead of going into the boiler, the water just goes straight through that thermocoil and out as steam. And that means there's no real delay in between brewing espresso and steaming your milk, which means you can make a coffee in a very short amount of time. And I think that's a definite bonus for anyone that wants a home machine, because the most frustrating thing is having to wait half an hour for your coffee machine to heat up before you can use it. So I think Fellow have really hit the nail on the head there for what the consumer actually wants in their home. Now, moving on to the user interface, on this slightly more kind of reflective material rather than this matte, you'll see the screen at the top. This has several different options, and you can just make it go back to sleep again. This will time out after 20 minutes, and at the moment I don't think there's an option to extend that time. If you want to make a drink, you can do this and it will just talk you through every step. So load portafilter with 20 grams of coffee, then it will pull your espresso, and then it will tell you how to steam your milk, how much to fill your milk pitcher, and so. There is a tea function as well, which I find quite funny, buying an espresso machine and then making tea. And then shot profile. Now, shot profiling is just, in simple terms, changing the pressure that you're brewing at dynamically as the coffee is being made. The advantages of that can be a change in flavor of the coffee. Some people think it can enhance the flavor, and honestly, it's just good fun to play with. You can make a shot at 9 bars and 6 bars and 3 bars and see how that pressure can change the flavor of the coffee. It's just one of those tricks that an espresso machine can have to make you have more fun with your coffee. And I really like that this is available on the machine. Now, inside this group head here, there's a pressure reader. Now, they read the pressure directly from what's in the portafilter and feed it back to the pump, which is a bit further away from the machine. What I've noticed when I've been using this is it can under and overshoot the pressure. It's not as consistent as some of my other pressure profiling machines, but it does a good job and will give you a nice flavor. You can make your own profiles directly on this little screen here, or you can connect to an app and do it that way. I think the app is the easier way to do it in my experience. Now, if you're not a pro and this is your first espresso machine, there are settings on this that will tell you exactly what to do and even how to dial in a coffee. It has a very good way of volumetric dosing, so rather than you having to stop the shot on its target weight, it will just brew until it's done and stop automatically. It will even say you should grind your coffee beans finer or grind your coffee beans coarser, depending on how quick or slow that shot was. And I think for a beginner just getting into it, to have that kind of input directly from your machine, I think that's a nice feature. So it's definitely so far appealing to a beginner who's learning and a pro that wants to pressure profile. I will show you the pressure profiling shots on there, but first let's try some of those beginner features. Okay, so let's make it a flat white. Okay, so I've got my 20 grams of coffee. And it will immediately start. So this orange here is the pressure around the side. So we're going up to 9 bar, and this is on a lever profile, so it will gradually reduce. We got 33 seconds on the graph there. So what's that going to tell me? So this says brew too fast. Grind finer for a 35 to 45 second shot. I'm going to ignore that because I don't want to waste all my beans. And it says fill pitcher with 120 milliliters of dairy milk and begin steaming. So I've got my pitcher and I'll go and fill it with milk. So I can now click begin steaming as soon as I've got that ready. And this is just the temperature in orange, which is also displayed in the middle. And we've got the target temperature of 57 here. And because it's got a little temperature probe on the bottom, it will just automatically cut off towards the end of steaming. The pressure of this steam wand is pretty good. We're getting a nice vortex, and the pump is actually surprisingly quiet, so you can hear it has stopped there. And you've got some information there saying lower wand to purge, and that is all automatic purging, so it'll do it before and after if you're on this setting. So once you go down, let me adjust this so you can see. As soon as you go down, it will just purge automatically. And now we have our milk and our espresso ready to make a coffee. Let's pour some latte art and then I'll tell you what I think about this as a picture. Not great. Not bad. Now, before we talk about the profiled options when we're brewing, I just want to mention this. This is their milk pitcher, and I find it really annoying. When I'm holding it, I am English, but I don't hold it like that. I want my finger, my little finger, to go somewhere, and I find it really only has space for 3 fingers here. So when I'm like that, I've just got a little finger that's just sort of doing nothing. I want more control. And the actual spout here, it's not very good. It's not wide, it's not sharp. It's kind of in the middle, not really helping you do anything in terms of your milk steaming. Let me know in the comments what you think of the beginner mode and whether you think you'd actually use it or someone else in your house would use it. But for now, let's make some pressure profiled shots of coffee. Now I'm making two. I'm going to start with the turbo shot and then I'm going to move on to the modern arc. And we're still going to look at these grind size notifications and dial them in as the machine wants. And once they're dialed in, I'll come back here and taste them both and see if they're firstly any different and whether the machine has suggested a good dial in for them. Okay, here we have the first modern arc shot that needed dialing in and the finished article as per the machine guidelines. That's a pretty acidic shot. I can feel it in my cheeks and it's clear that it's not quite right. Let's see what the machine adjusted it to. The acidity is much more mellow now. It feels more rounded and a much nicer shot, to be honest. Yeah, I'm getting no reaction from the acidity in that. But it is still there. It's flavorful, it's fruity. You know, there's not too much going on in this coffee. It's much better than the first shot, which means, you know, the first thing it's doing is pretty good. Now we've got the bigger cup with the turbo in and the dialed in modern arc. Wow. This turbo is much lighter, it's got less body, but it's fruitier. It's more akin to like a strong filter coffee, but I have to say I really like that, and it's definitely different. They're both completely different shots, but very nice in their own regard. And it didn't take me very long to do that dialing in at all. That's honestly quite impressive for a machine that just tells you what to do. It didn't take really much input from me, any tasting. I usually taste as I go, but this really helped guide me in that process. And honestly, I think it's pretty good. Nowadays, I probably wouldn't use that kind of feedback as much. I much prefer to use, tasting to guide my grind size preference. But if I was just getting into the hobby, I would find that really helpful. There's sometimes you get a coffee and it just doesn't quite do what you want it to do. I remember sometimes I'd spend ages trying to dial in a coffee, and having that kind of feedback back then would have been really helpful. So I can genuinely see people using this at home if they were getting into the hobby. And I can also see people just switching that feature off if they didn't need it, like I do usually have it off. But yeah, I think that's pretty good actually. So final thoughts. Who is this machine for? Well, I think Fellow have done something really smart here. They've captured beginners and enthusiasts in the same bracket, and I think it does adequately suffice both of those needs. And if you're a beginner, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because you won't need to upgrade your machine nearly as fast as you'll want to if you get a sort of standard beginner machine. Now, if you're a beginner, I think it would be hard for you to justify spending £1,300 odd on a new espresso machine, but I think it is something worth considering. Now, the machine obviously doesn't come with a grinder, and spending so much money on an espresso machine might tempt some people to spend less on a grinder, and I think ultimately that's the wrong way to look at things. You should be looking to spend most of your budget on a good grinder and then get the espresso machine that you can afford. However, if you can afford a great grinder and this espresso machine, you'll have a great setup from beginner into enthusiast if you want it to be that. If you're an enthusiast and you're getting this machine, I think you are getting a very good machine. I think the pressure profiling is good. However, the pressure control could be slightly better. Remember that the pressure is read in this sort of group head and the pump is quite far away. So the feedback between the two takes some time, and there is a bit of overshoot and undershoot depending on what the shot's doing. I think if you are meticulous about pressure profiling, it might be worth just saving up a little bit more money and waiting until you can get one of the more extreme machines, or instead buying a machine like a Gadget and modifying it with a Gadgeuino or a Gadgumate, because they're the ones that are going to give you the best control of pressure in an espresso machine. However, it does a very good job and makes tasty espresso, and those recommendations are largely just for the few that want really meticulous control. Personally, I think this is a really good value for money espresso machine. Of course, it is a jack of all trades, master of none. It attempts everything and does a very good job of all of them, but I don't think it's quite perfected everything. In terms of a usable machine for beginners, it's very good, but it's not quite perfect. In terms of a pressure profiling machine, it's very good, but it's not quite perfect. And it manages to capture everyone in its target audience within a remit that I think is still worth buying. Again, with that being said, if you're a perfectionist, I don't think this is the machine for you. But if you want something with a quick heat up time, makes good coffee, looks good, doesn't take up much room, and can be used by everyone, this is the machine you're looking for. Finally, I hope you found that helpful, and if you did, make sure you're following and subscribe. And I just really want to thank you for watching till the end. That means so much more than you know. Thank you.